I can remember it like it was yesterday, guys. The room felt different. The room was different. You see, for those who don't know, I played football in college at UC Davis. And my freshman year, I can remember it like it was yesterday. I'm a 17-year-old kid, wet behind the ears, naive still, eyes bright, nervous, anxious, but excited. And the first day of practice, there were literally 150 players on the field for tryouts. My position group, defensive back, had probably 35 players, 35, 40 players between cornerback and safety. And I remember how competitive it was. I remember the broad range of talent and ability and ages and sizes and demographically the differences that you came to learn over a short period of time. We all came from different backgrounds, different cities, different experiences, different socioeconomic areas. But one thing stood out. I'll never forget it, guys. The first day after they had the initial round of cuts, so after about 2 weeks of practice, in which we had basically 20 hours of work, not 20 hours, but quite a bit, from about 9 a.m., 6 a.m. really with the weightlifting until about 9 p.m. It was all football for 2 weeks. Practice, classroom, eating together in the lunchroom, film work, stretching, rehab, all of that was all encompassing, right? At UC Davis, it's a quarter school, so we were on campus before school started. So it was literally all day football from about 6 a.m. until 9 p.m. for about 2 weeks. And then after 2 weeks, after our scrimmage game, we had cuts. So a good portion of the student athletes, the players, were sent home. I wasn't. For whatever reason, I was good enough to stay with the older kids, with the vets, with the returning players, with the older established football players at UC Davis. And amongst this group of 20, 21-year-old players who had played in big ball games, who had played in college football games, in the middle of all that was this 17-year-old kid from Monterey Bay, California. And the very first meeting that we had in a classroom with my position group after cuts was different than the previous one that we had prior to cuts. Number one, the room was half the size. It went from about 35 defensive backs to about 17, 18 of us. Number two, you could feel the difference. You could feel the intensity. You could feel and understand that now we were getting ready for the season. That this group of people remaining was the group we were going into battle with. And I looked around and none of the kids who were my age or my year were in that room. And so, number two, again, you could feel the seriousness of the moment. And I could see the eyes of everybody looking at me, or I felt that way. Because now this was the group that was going into combat together. And the other student athletes were not going to be participating in game situations this year with this team. So one, it was smaller. There was much fewer athletes. Number two, you could feel the intensity. And number three, you could feel the accountability factor rise tremendously. Whereas for the first 2 weeks, I was having a good time being recognized as one of the better players, kind of feeling my way around, feeling good about every good play I made, using the situation of me being younger as a way to make me feel better, while also using the fact that I was younger as an excuse for whenever I screwed up. That was all out the window. Because now I knew that it didn't matter how old I was. It didn't matter if I hadn't played a college game. These players, these coaches, this team was depending on me as part of the team to help us win. And so that accountability factor went up tremendously in that moment. And I remembered this thing that I want you to remember and know. The room you're in matters, guys. The room you are in your life matters. The room you are in your endeavor matters. The room you are in your job, in your relationship, in your fitness, whatever it is, in your sport, the room you're in matters. It matters literally. It matters metaphorically. It matters spiritually. What that means is when you go somewhere, when you're doing something, when you're growing and learning in your craft, in your endeavor, in your job, who you with, who you around, what situations, environments, circumstances do you put yourself in to make you accountable, to make the intensity of the room you're in raise and be palpable? Is it exclusive? Right? Are there many people or a few people that are going to where you want to go? If there's many, your desire to go somewhere isn't big enough. So I need for you to choose small rooms. Again, literally, metaphorically, choose environments where the pyramid is doing this. And you're trying to be better. You're not trying to hang out with people who are trying to be where they're at and okay with where they're at. You want to be a better father. You want to be a better wife. You want to be a better teacher, coach, parent. You want to be a better football player, basketball player. You want to get better grades. You want to grow in your career. And so who you're around and how big that room is matters. You want the intensity when you're with people to be raised. You want to be around people that hold you accountable. These scenarios, right, when they don't exist in your life, when the room you're in does not demand of you greatness, it's hard to be great. When the room you're in doesn't hold you accountable to your gift, it's hard to be great. When you can't feel the intensity of getting better every single day in the room you're in, it's hard to be great. So I want you guys to begin to reflect upon the rooms that you're in your life. The friends you hang out with, the teammates you hang out with, the colleagues at work you hang out with. And not just external, physical, literal rooms, but also the environment you put yourself in. What do you read? What do you watch? What do you listen to? Are those things helping you? Is the environment you're creating a room for growth? Is the environment you're creating a room for production and manifestation of your dreams? And if it's not, choose, build, create, join a better room. Because as I've told you guys in this story, right, I went on to continue to be great, but only because people around me made me great. People around me made me accountable. People around me demanded from me what they demanded from themselves. And that was the best versions of themselves, not just on the football field, but academically, relationship wise, in all that we did. Right? So in your life, guys, I want you guys to find people to push you, to find people to pull you, motivate you, inspire you, push you to be the best you can be. Because the room you're in matters.